just go then, and you can eventually do you can do your own private recording back home at you.
Oh, you want me to just go for it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
it's better to do that, yeah. And then then you can re-record yourself back at the hotel room or something later today, and put it up on YouTube.
Yeah, like really drunk. That'd be great. I'll just be like in underwear and a t-shirt. Like, all right, so hi everybody, I'm Billy Gray. I live in New York, and we're talking about passwords. Oh, great! Of course, that's when he starts recording. and all right. Thank you, and thank you. Sorry, I wasn't trying to be rude or anything. Thank you. My name is Billy Gray. I live in New York, and I work for Zetetic. And I work on the Strip, the Password Manager, and I help out on SQL Cipher, the open source encrypted database that is built on SQLite. So last year I met Per at Passwords 13, and he had some strong suggestions, or rather demands, about how password generators should work, specifically mine. So today I'm looking forward to continuing that discussion. So nearly every day we run into some waypost like this of authorization and authority that wants us to create a new account, use your real name, set a password, so we know it's you, right? So what kind of password do you choose? Whether you use a password manager or the same password all the time, there's still a moment of, of mental investment. Should it be random? Should it be saved for later? Should I make up something new? Use the same old thing? And if you're like some of us here, hopefully many of us, you might actually wonder if you're even capable of coming up, with a good, truly random password yourself. So in that moment, you're trying to guess how your choice at this screen will affect your future. Maybe your job, maybe something more serious that affects other people. And I know I'm trying to be funny, but this is kind of serious actually when you're setting a password on an SSH key or your LinkedIn account, probably not so serious, but hey, some people really love LinkedIn. So, there are always these instructions on the screen, usually hidden until you hit submit, that tell you that you forgot to use a special character, and the special character that you need to include is one of maybe 4 or 5 special characters they've enumerated, not all the ones that are available to you. And we suspect that these limitations actually have more to do with protecting regular expression validation than actually anything particularly important. But there often aren't that many characters for us to choose from, really. We've got 0 to 9, we've got upper and lowercase letters, and punctuation in the basic Latin set at the lower end of Unicode. So there's no nania, no sedia, no umlaut allowed. Why do we make these requirements? Mostly we want to encourage people to use random passwords or quote-unquote better passwords, because we don't. We know that people don't use good passwords. We know sometimes we don't use good passwords. We've seen the research. We've been here at the conference. So maybe it's not working. But I would like to call these common restrictions. They constitute a policy that people now default to. So we heard yesterday during Julia Angwin's excellent keynote, she uses a 5-word password for high entropy. But then she capitalizes a letter and throws in an exclamation point because she has to. And my friends, think that this is the way to make their passwords safe too. When I talk to them, they're like, "Oh, what kind of password should I use?" I use encyclopedia, but I capitalize, 3 for an E and I put a 1 on the end. That's good, right? So, as most of you know, these types of passwords tend to be really easy to crack because the policy forces people into patterns they can remember. Patterns that we can guess and break with Hashcat pretty easily. And on top of that, some sites don't protect your password very well at all, right? Microsoft recently recommended in a research paper that people have been discussing that we begin to use easy to remember throwaway passwords repeatedly for sites we visit where our own security requirements are perhaps lower, or where we think the risk of it being stored insecurely and eventually exposed is pretty good. And I think they have a point, but I'm not sure I'm ready to take that bait. And then other folks believe that the XKCD comic known as password strength, that's for them that's the end all, like the end of the discussion. You take some random words, you stick them together, you get a ton of entropy. We're gaining strength against the password cracker for every single character we're adding. I'm sorry if this is very base. Well, but I just don't want to leave anybody behind here. So correct horse battery staple. I wonder how many people actually employ this strategy. I mean, besides Julia, did anybody here actually use? I mean, if you don't mind saying, do you use this strategy? Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. Cool. Interesting. I don't. I'm a little lazy, but each extra letter does work. It does mean a lot for now, and but I wonder how long it will matter. It will always get.
Context for it. Don't realize that the words need to be picked through completely random process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, it's a fantastic comic, but that's one thing it doesn't communicate. And I've seen discussions where people are confused about that.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just making up, they're throwing phrases out of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. We're just experiencing some technical difficulties. Please bear with us. Cracked horse battery staple. Did you guys see anybody here went to Passwords 13 last year besides Jeff? Yeah. Did you guys catch that? I forget the name of the talk, but there was a Hashcat talk in which they were specifically pursuing passphrases, using their pattern matching attacks to go after that. You know what? I'm just going to proceed because what I want to talk about, that's what I want to talk about. So if we're picking, even if we're picking the words random, there will come a point at which these guys are going to get good at breaking for randomly chosen words from the English dictionary in basic Latin characters. Our understanding of what is difficult too is also rapidly changing. So while we may get a lot more entropy for every single character we add, it feels like a sliding. You're sliding down a hill. It's maybe a losing battle. We'll see. And then like Julia, many people end up kind of shoehorning the technique. So you capitalize a letter, you throw in an exclamation point, or you could randomize these strings, like fully randomize them, instead of picking words in the dictionary. But again, you have another password you can't remember, or maybe you don't remember whether it was the O's and the 3's you changed. Maybe it was A's you changed, A's and 3's, A's and E's. So we're not much better off than we were before when it comes to the pattern matching attack in the latter case. And so I think that means it's time, maybe in the XKCD comic, they're suggesting that you want something that is easy to remember. In fact, there's a limitation at the bottom of it that I wish I'd included in the screen cap that was something like, for 20 years, we've been, teaching people to make passwords that are hard for them to remember, and that was the lamentation. And you know what? I don't want to remember them. I want to think of them as keys. I want them to be truly random. I don't want to know. Except maybe in the case of logging into my laptop. So there's always exceptions to our rules, right? Attackers are getting better and better at cracking hashes. We've got a limited character set to choose from for each gain and entry and each character added. So while adding another character to your password will always increase the work factor required, maybe we can do better. Maybe we can expand the possible set for each character. The typical ASCII set we were just looking at before is just the lower end of Unicode. For anybody who doesn't know, Unicode is a massive set of code points for the characters we regularly use. We refer to it as ASCII, but usually when we're typing in our computers, we're actually working with UTF-8 in web browsers. Mac OS X natively uses UTF-16. I've heard here and there that using these types of characters from the rest of Unicode isn't going to help. That it won't prevent Hashcat from cracking your password. I suppose that's true if you're using patterns. But if we're talking about truly random passwords, I think it's kind of a ridiculous suggestion that expanding the set of available password characters we choose from to create our passwords wouldn't give us more entropy, wouldn't give us just harder to crack passwords. So we decided to take a look at some things here. The complexity for a set of pins 0 through 9, you have a numeral set of 10 there. How does that compare to our Latin set, which is about 95 to 100 characters? We can see that within it's 6 or 7, was it 8 characters? About 8 or 9 characters with the more complex set. We're getting better, more complexity than we do with 15 in the pin set. We know that. But what about the 250,000 odd characters in Unicode? It's actually pretty much astronomical. Within 5 characters, we've definitely done the complex work of 15 in the basic Latin set. I know that sounds a little dry, trying to find the right way to put it, but we think it's time to try it out. So we built, in a few days, just a password generator that just starts cranking these things out, because we wanted to know what it would look like. Actually selecting from the full Unicode set is sort of a daunting proposition. There are over 1 million code points. I think something like 1.14 million code points in Unicode, but they're not all utilized. Some of them are actually immutably reserved. Some of them, there are spaces where we're going to add characters later. So there are a lot of points in the Unicode set where there's just nothing, just a vast waste. So you can't just traverse. You can't, go integer by integer up the set of characters to select them out. So what we did here is we selected out 55,000 characters from various palettes in the Unicode. And that sort of requires, sort of paging through it, looking out for gaps. But so this isn't hard to do, putting this together. I think, yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot I had those. Yeah, sorry. This is a sample. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, the URL. Yeah. I'll give it out later. But Password Blaster is just a sample app that we're going to put on GitHub. And basically, we wanted to see if people could use this and start, saving these passwords and making use of them. But the next question is how useful is this? We surveyed 25 popular websites from Alexa Top 100 and personal favorites, and I would have liked to have surveyed a whole lot more. Maybe this is one of those jobs from Mechanical Turk, but signing up repeatedly for accounts and then going through the setup process over and over and over again takes a lot more time than you might imagine. But we suspected many of these websites would not accept these passwords. Websites like Yahoo, LinkedIn. We kind of figured this wouldn't work, maybe, but we're not sure. You have to see, right? We also, and this was maybe a little bit naive, we thought that maybe if we forced these passwords to have one basic Latin numeral, one lowercase character, one uppercase character, one meta character, if we included those basic requirements that your Bank of America login wants to have, then maybe it would let you get away with these Unicode characters. So the results are that they did work in many of the sites, but my notion was a little bit naive. So 14 of the 25 accepted them. That was a lot higher than I expected. But the odd thing was that all those who were rejecting the Unicode characters were rejecting even though we met their requirements in terms of having an uppercase A and a star and whatever. And this was really surprising. Those accepting Unicode had almost no restrictions. So for instance, reddit.com has a password policy of like 1 character. You just have to have a password. I tried to put in 0. It didn't work out. Like no password. But yeah, they will accept anything. Doesn't matter. And that seemed to be the case across the board for every single site we surveyed. Anybody that let us use Unicode characters didn't care at all whether there was an uppercase and a lowercase and a number and a meta character. They didn't have any kind of restrictions at all. I'm missing slides. Awesome. This is going real well. Anyway, that is basically how it turned out. We think this is going to work, but we think we actually have to start using it. We have to actually provide password generators that provide these or at least provide the option for people. I think if you give people the option, I think they will start using it. I'm sure chaos and calamity is going to ensue, and I would like to talk about what you were saying before in terms of your experiences with people and their master password. But I think if people start using these things and they start going to sites where they can, and a lot of sites are allowing them, they're going to get used to it and they're going to like it. And then when they go to bankofamerica.com and it doesn't work, they're going to email. People email, right? You have customers. People email. They are prolific. They get upset. Boy, can they really write letters. And so I think what we'll end up doing here by providing people these passwords is that they're going to just drive website creators crazy until they start allowing them to do it. I'm sure it's a little weird for people to have passwords like this. Something you can't even type yourself. You have to copy and paste it. The idea might sketch people out a little bit. But I think a password manager sketch people out. They put all their passwords in there. They already don't remember them. They're already random. And they're worried that, maybe someday if they lose their passwords, they lose the keys to everything in their online life. But I don't remember anybody's phone number anymore either. So I'm in. And with that, I guess I kind of want to open it up for discussion. Any questions, thoughts? Is this a good idea, a bad idea? Right there.
The place that you were able to create the accounts on, do you actually verify? Did you find any that you could create the account but then not subsequently log in?
Oh, yeah, I check that every time. No, that was not a problem, actually. There were some inconsistencies in the validations of these websites. So, for instance, Reddit required at least 2 characters in your password when you signed up, but after that, only 1 was required. Other websites would, require a minimum of 6 on the login on the creation screen, and then the reset process 4 was fine. Right there in the hat. Sorry, we'll try to get everybody. What's up, man? Ooh, yeah.
Let's say, for example, you entered an NJ or an accident vowel or something, it would just convert to an N or the vowel.
Yeah.
So you thought you were entering in Unicode characters, you thought it supported it, but really turned out it didn't do at all.
Yep.
It was just converted into Latin characters.
Hmm.
But one of my questions is, how do you enter these on a mobile device?
Well, I have a really nice password manager. It's called Strip, and you can. But it's a good point. These are passwords you're not going to be able to type in pretty much ever.
I ran this once where I don't remember what the type was, but the user interface, the main login supported extended characters, but the API did not support it.
Mm-hmm.
So
there you go. Yeah, Windows is interesting. What is it's a Latin char set that it defaults to, but I think we're at a time where we can encourage this at least for web use because we're seeing UTF-8 all over the place, and that does support this very well. Jeff, you had a question?
Well, I was going to say what I was.
Yeah. Bring up what you said before.
Which is related to what you were saying. With one password, with people entering their master passwords, we accept UTF-8, but we found that just even when people moved from keyboard to keyboard, someone with a German keyboard versus a US keyboard, and then they moved into a US keyboard, found that for whatever reason, you umlaut.
Yeah, but this is the master password where they're typing it in themselves, right?
They're typing it in themselves,
Yeah.
coded differently. And I think that for you to test whether these things really do work on these sites, or whether they're actually just getting translated, you should probably try them. You should try.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Maybe what ends up in there is garbage,
Yeah.
but it's your garbage.
So it might turn into the same garbage when you're using the same browser and the same.
That's a really good point.
context.
Well, I don't think we have to worry about that too badly when it comes to web forms and UTF-8. But when it does come to like hardware compatibility on your local Mac, sure, absolutely. What's up?
Expanding on that, though, it might not just be the browser and that, but if the website were to say change the database backend from say MySQL to Postgres or something like that,
Okay.
it might also cause issues there.
If they're munging their characters like that, they've got a bigger problem than this. First off, the password should be hashed, right?
Yeah.
And a hash is actually it sort of enforces a bit of protection on the data at rest.
Still, the spirit remains the same in that if they change their backend, because UTF encoding always changes so much, as far as these different implementations goes, if they changed something which changes the way it reads UTF, or UTF in general, it could break that.
Yeah, well, they might break all the data they have stored in there by their fellow German citizens who use umlauts in the text they've stored. We'll come back to you, and I just want to get some more people in here. What's up?
You talk about people send emails like to Bank of America and such. How hard is it for Bank of America to change their website to allow you to
You know,
Basically, how hard?
that, you know, I really wish we had someone here from there to ask them that, because I would ask them a few other things. They don't seem particularly competent at anything, other than getting your money. Which is, I guess maybe that speaks well of them.
One thing I want to expand on as far as the Bank of America stuff goes is how would this handle the PCI compliance?
I don't know, but I do want to actually answer your question, which is that it looks like on their website, when you look at the set of like once you type in a password that has special characters and it bonks, it'll tell you these are the ones we accept. And it's a very limited set. It says like 0 through 9, A through Z, capital A through capital Z. And then they're like, you can have a hyphen and an underscore, and I think a caret, and that's about it. Something like that. I don't quite remember off the top of my head, but the characters looked suspiciously like control characters from regular expression. So I have this sinking feeling that somewhere on their back end is a Perl script that is like validating your password, you know, and like it's using a regular expression instead of you know, scanning a string properly. You had a comment?
Yeah, since you're talking about automatically generated passwords that nobody's going to have to remember, if you just stick to upper and lowercase letters, forget even digits, once you hit a length of 23, you've got 128 bits.
True.
So, I mean, we've kind of gone through the same thought process that you've gone through.
I agree. I mean, the thing is, I just want to make it even more. I want more. You know, for 11 or 23 characters, I want even higher entropy, and it's right there. It's sitting there. It's waiting for us. I mean, I think this lovely graph from Wolfram Alpha, like, you know, makes that very clear. You know, I think it's worth doing if we can keep, you know, the support and technical issues low enough. But I think that you're right. It definitely means, you know, probably limiting this to the web.
Right. So I just say we made the choice not to go this way.
Mhm.
To say you're generating these things, generate them longer.
Yeah. Hey, it's not wrong. You're not wrong. Hold on, just one second. Am I leaving anybody else out who wanted to make a comment or ask a question? No? Okay. You're saying?
Higher entropy isn't about why, it's about why not.
Well said. All right, well, I think that about wraps this discussion up, unless anybody else has anything. Thank you very much for being here today. Good night.